Have I read 7 books about aliens mod? Basically, yes, I have. And you know what? Not only do I not regret it, but I would also recommend this book. So here's why we're here today. So welcome back. I'm Claire, and today I'm going to talk about a very infamous series, the Ice Planet Barbarians. So first things first, this series is very open about the kind of books and the kind of story you're going to find and the premises, so it is targeted to a very specific audience, so I'm going to be very honest about them as well. So if you're looking for, easy romance, basically alien smart, just smart with a tiniest bit of plot, then this is the perfect read for you, because it is so easy. The books are like 100-200 pages, more or less, it depends, and there is a plot, but it's so easy to follow. You don't need to understand anything. You just need, shut your brain off, take this book, enjoy the romance, enjoy the feelings, and that's it. So the first book starts with this group of girls. They wake up on an alien ship. Now, the aliens that have kidnapped them are not the same, are not the love interest, okay? So we don't have that in this. Um, the series starts off with the abduction of this group of girls who are all 20 years old, who live alone. They basically a bit stranded from society, so that it easy that their disappearance will not be noticed. But there is a problem, because the alien ship is too heavy, so they need to let something go, and the aliens decide to let go the part of the ship where the girls are staying, and they just let it fall off on a random planet. So the planet does not have a name, if I'm correct, but the girls call it not Earth, or no, the planet of Star Wars, but I have never watched the movie, so I don't know what they're talking about. But um, each book is focused on a girl, and the first one, our main girl in the first book, is Georgie. So the of course, when the ship falls, there are victims, they are harmed, and they cannot, they're stranded basically on this random planet they don't know anything about. So they send Georgie to scout basically, to search for food, for water, to understand where they are, to look for help, whatever. But what Georgie ends up finding, it's is a kind of help, but more for her than the girls themselves, because this planet is populated by blue horned, uh, also with a tail, huge, but huge aliens. So they call them barbarian, because this planet is basically stuck in Mesozoic era. I don't know, they're pretty primitive, so they live in caves, and they hunt for a living. They use furs to warm themselves, because on this planet there's always snow, so the warmest season is still pretty much a snow coming down every day. So you get the idea. However, Giorgino so comes across this alien, but there's something else that I have not told you about these aliens, and that is that in the air of this planet, there's something that is chemical, that is toxic for aliens and humans as well. To survive on this planet, the aliens have basically resorted to hunt for the sakui, no sakui, but for kuis. So kuis are like these little worms that that allows you survive basically, because it makes you stronger, it lets you heal way faster, it heats you so you don't get too cold on a planet where it's also always below zero, and and that is that, because if you don't get a kui, then you will die. It's only a matter of time, but you will die because of the toxicity of the air. So of course they don't know that, the girls don't know that, but as soon as Georgie meets this fellow whose name is Vector, she understands. But the first thing she understands when she meets Vector is that he is very good at giving head. Basically, the first thing they do is that. So, you know, again, very honest, very straightforward. This is about smut. So if you are not in a mood for smut, then you know leave this series for later. But so I've done is, so this is the premise, okay? Georgie meets Bechtel. Bechtel is the chief of this tribe, so they go to the caves where Bechtel's tribe lives, and so they then may send a party to, you know, get the rest of the girls basically, and they're stranding on this planet, so they make a living there, they start to live there, they hunt for these kuis, etc. Another thing about kuis is that they recognize when you've met your mate, your soulmate, wherever, and it is also linked to fertility for women basically. So when your kui resonates, they use this word that basically means that you start to purr like a cat. That means that you will get pregnant if you have sex basically, and it leads you to be in a constant state of horniness. So you can fight the kui, and it is a big thing in this tribe. This kui is the importance of having a mate, the importance of resonating, of creating a family. There's a lot of stress on that. So of course, when you have this tribe made up of basically males, unmated males, and then you have this ship full of women, of single women, they're exhausted, they're enthusiastic, and of course, each girl will immediately or eventually find their mate. So the basis, the premise is this, they need to find a kui, their kui will find them a mate. The most important thing of this tribe is finding a mate, creating a family, having sex, basically. I've made a list of each book, each couple, and their trope, because the first one, so we have Georgie and Bechtel. So strangers to lovers, I'd say, because it is fairly quick. Bechtel sees Georgie, his kui resonates, so he chooses her as a mate, and then she's his, so no questions asked. Then of course they get to meet each other and whatever. Georgie gets her kui, and her kui will recognize Bechtel as her mate, so happily ever after. But things are not so easy for everyone, okay? Because we have the second one is about Liz, and Liz, okay, I don't know if I should say the name of the male, because it is a bit of spoiler, because there are a lot of of course characters and males, but I think that you can kind of understand it by reading the synopsis of the book. So I'm going to tell it. I'm going to say it. So the second book is about Elizabeth, and her mate Rausch. So their dynamic is very interesting. They have a hate to love trope, which is one of my favorites. But I would say that they're not enemies to lovers, because as soon as Liz gets her kui, her kui resonates for Rausch. So it's not exactly a slow burn either, because Liz put up a fight. She does not want to be on this planet. She does not want to have Rausch as a mate, but not for Rausch himself, but for the notion that she is not a choice in this, basically. But another thing that is very, 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 important in this tribe is consent. Like if a woman says no, then it's no, but it is really no. They, there's a lot of respect around women, their consent and their pleasure when it comes to freaky times. And it's fairly obvious that the sex scenes are written by a female. Like you can tell because you don't get as good sex scenes in books written by males. Like, you know, that's it. So yeah, Rausch, he accepted. He suffers from the rejection, but he's always chivalrous. He always very respectful of her and her boundaries. Then we've moved in onto Kira and Aehako. Aehako, I don't know, I'll probably butcher some of their names because of course they're alien, so I'm not sure what the right pronunciation is. But their dynamic is basically friends to lovers, but it is really interesting in the sense that each book deals with a more serious topic. Because, for example, when it comes to Kira, she was the only one who was able to understand the aliens on their ship because they had implanted a translator on her ear, so she was able to understand them. And okay, I have to say a big trigger warning for the first book, which is a depiction of sexual assault, because these girls, some of them are raped by these aliens, and so eventually there's also that a discussion of that when it comes to that specific girl's story. With Kira, we don't have that, but we have, of course, the matter that she is worried about the aliens ever coming back, because if they do, they'll be able to trace her because of her earpiece basically. And the thing is that your Kui only reacts to your mate basically when you're ready, when your body is ready and your mind also is ready to procreate, basically to get pregnant. So we in the third book we have a situation of mated girls and unmated girls. So for some reason their kui has not resonated yet for a male, and they're just waiting, because there is a certainty that they will, but no one knows when. And so if you see, each of the girls that have not resonated yet have a kind of problem, but of course problem in the sense that there is something that is getting in between them and their mate. For example, for Kira is this fear, and also the fact that she is sterile, she can have kids, or you know she can have kids, so she thinks that she will never resonate, because of course the kui resonates when you can get pregnant. So she thinks, I'm never getting a mate because I can't have kids. And so she doesn't not try. What I found interesting about Kira and her dynamic with eventually her mate is her fear of getting close with someone, because eventually, since there's a big thing about having kids and starting a family in this tribe, and she can have kids, of course. She's afraid that when she will tell the boy that she's with, that she can have kids, that he will leave her, basically. And eventually, one of these guys is more obstinate and determined than everyone else, and eventually he convince her basically of just living in the moment and appreciating what she has now, and then we can worry about the future later. And that's all I will say about Kira and Aehako. They're cute, they're really cute, and at this point when I read, I finished their story, so yeah, I had read 3 books. They were my favorites. Then we move on to Harlow and Rukh. Okay, Harlow and Rukh have not one of my favorite couples. They basically get around the kidnapping trope because Rook is basically a savage. And in fact, he doesn't know how to speak. He does not speak because he has been alone for so long that of course he has forgotten words and how to speak. And since of course there's this language barrier between humans and aliens, they can communicate. In the first book they get that fixed because they found another ship that somehow is available to put a whole language system inside the girls within 5 seconds basically. And so whenever a girl finds a mate, um, they walk to this ship, they get language inside of them, they learn the language dump they called it. So and everyone is able to communicate, but of course Rook, who lives alone for I don't know, as long as he was a little kid, basically, he was none the wiser about this other ship, about the girls, about anything, about the crew, nothing. So of course that this whole kidnapping situation, but the concept of consent and saying no and respecting their wish is always valid, is always there. Even if Rook can speak, he knows no. So when I told you that this was clearly written by a woman, I was yeah, it was pretty obvious. But so yeah, Harlow does not put much of a fight because her cool resonates to Rook. There's a lot of possessiveness, but this is something that is true for each of these males. The way they treat their mate like they're the most important thing in the world. Their needs come first, and whatever their pleasure, their happiness, everything. And also they're also very possessive because there is not a lot of women on this planet, so mates are very rare. But again, it was fine. It was fine. Not my favorite. Then we have Claire and Everen. Claire and Everen, it was an interesting dynamic because Claire was one of the women who had not resonated, but she had chosen a mate because in this tribe you either resonate to your mate or you can choose your heart mate. So you do not have resonated for each other, but you choose each other as mates. And Claire had chosen Beck. I believe his name is Beck. But this guy, it was a bit off. They don't work together. And she realized it. She realized this before he does, or she accepted before he does. And there was a moment in the book where you kind of worry that Claire is in an abusive relationship, but again, Beck is more stubborn than the other males, so he respects and know, but he needs more time to accept it. But again, Claire, talks with him. He makes him understand that this thing they had was not working, and after a while he relents. So it's all fine. But to convince him to just back off, let her be, she gets Everen's help, and so we have the fake dating trope. Now, this couple had a lot of potential, and fake dating is a fantastical trope. But the thing is that this story was not even the main focus of the book that is in, because it was featured in one of the holiday pieces, basically. So the focus was not clear and evident. I think their story develops in under 100 pages, so I- they have potential. They have potential. Then we have Tiffany and Saruk. Okay, Tiffany and Saruk. I think they fall under the category of friends to lovers because Tiffany was the most wanted female of the caves. Uh, among the unmated females, of course. Apparently she had like suitors that fought for her attention and whatever, but Tiffany was one of the girls that was assaulted by the aliens, and so her body is not ready. Again, her Kui knows that she is not ready for a relationship. She cannot bear touch or sharing her personal space with someone, and so of course there is this, you know, heavy topic that it is discussed, because it's almost like for these aliens, rape and assault are not concepts that they know, because of course consent is just so important for them that they can just bear the thought of someone getting advantage of a woman, basically. But so for this reason, for the way Tiffany's trauma is dealt with, was very interesting to see how Saluki was able to get past their walls and make her trust in others as well. Again, basically, it was interesting. But I'm not a fan of friends to lovers, so interesting for the theme, for the topic, but them as a couple, yeah, yeah, not even on my top 3. but but we're finally on book 7. we encountered my favorite couple of all time, because listen, enemies to lovers is elite, and I will say it again and again and again. It is a hill I will die on. Josie and Hayden. Now, the reason why I've said that Liz and Rausch in book 2 are not to be considered as enemies to lovers is because once the boy chooses your mate, you can fight. You can fight it. If you do, you get sick, you get incredibly horny, up to the point where you can do anything without thinking of your mate and of mating, of course. But with Josie and Hayden is different, because their relationship starts in book 1, and you see them throughout the series, how they interact with each other, and they, for some reason, they can stand. Now I say for some reason they can stand each other, but of course we know, because enemies to lovers, we start as enemies. So they start as full enemies. They can stand each other. There is always bantering, snipping at each other for whatever reason. Aiden is always so angry with Josie for some reason, and they also fit the category of emo boyfriend. So I hate everyone but you, and the emo boyfriend and sunbeam girlfriend, basically, because Josie is always positive, is always full of light. Is always she speaks a lot, so she's also bubbly, and she's that kind of character of girl. And then we have Hayden, who's basically broody type. He's always dark, moody, always angry. He doesn't like people, of being in a crowd, that kind of situation, that kind of dynamic, which is elite. I will say it again, elite. So for some reason, again, their Kui don't resonate for each other. So for 6 books, they do not resonate. And now, okay, I've lied, because I know why they didn't resonate. And the thing is that Josie used to have an IUD. So of course, again, the concept of Kui pregnancy. So resonating with that means that you get pregnant. So Josie had an IUD in order to not get pregnant, so of course that meant that she couldn't resonate. Then for so the actual reason why they didn't resonate was that Urkui was too busy trying to expel this IUD to let Josie get pregnant. to worry about a maid. So even in book 7, um, he finally did it. He finally gets rid of this IUD. It's not, Josie gets up, she's enthusiastic, she goes around the cave to see if someone will resonate with her, and of course, imagine her disappointment when she stops in front of Aiden by mistake, because he was just walking around the cave, and then boom, purring. She purrs, he purrs, boom, resonating. Really fantastic. He immediately denies it, and he not so much. He not so much, because the reason why he was always so angry, and he basically fought his feelings for Josie, was for a reason. So when they start to interact with each other as mates, even though Josie fights this thing, and Hayden again respects her decision, respects her no, even though it physically pains him. He is not as strong anymore. He is a hunter, of course, and so he has trouble being in the cold, or doing exercising strength. Basically, he's not as energetic as he was before. But no, no means no. Josie said no, and so Hayden respects it, but all the while taking care of her like she is his whole world. Like, who tell me, who does not wish for a guy who is so smitten with you that just stops worrying about everybody else, about himself as well, just to care for every one of your wishes, every one of your desires or needs. You come first, up until the point that if you were to die, if you were to be physically endangered or whatever, he would like take a knife and point him to his heart and just take his life, because his life without you does not have any sense. Like, like, how can anyone tell me that Josie and Helen and Mr. Lovers is not elite? Like, I can have it, I can have it. There. So, number 3, Josie and Hayden. Um, hmm. So I think there's a tie between Kira and Aehako and Lisa Rausch. Yeah, yeah, this is my big dream. So, this series, it does not end here. I think it is made up of 22 books. So, because at some point they discover other girls, and so other mates and other situation. But the thing is that the main plot throughout the series is this. Every unmated male is in search of his mate, and so they just choose one. If they not immediately resonate, they choose one that they like best, and they hope for their QE to resonate for each other. So again, this is an easy read, a very passive read. Like, I read this series very quickly, like almost 2 days a day, 2 books a day. But it was very passive. Like, you understand the basics, like shipwreck, aliens, resonating, and that. But there is all you need to understand. Then you can just sit back, turn your brain off, enjoy the romance, enjoy the easy romance, enjoy the faked romance, basically, and the smart, because there's a lot of smart. It was, so again, it is very honest, straightforward, what you can expect with these books, but it's also not that bad. Like, I swear I thought it was going to be more trashy, but I would not exactly say that it's trashy, because it perfectly fits the criteria of easy romance, pure smart, alien smart. So if you expect to see a great rom-com or a more in-depth, I don't know, discussion of some heavy topics, you're in the wrong video. You're watching the wrong video. You're looking for the wrong book. So with this, but again, if you want an easy read, 200 pages more, so easy romance, very passive read, easy to follow, feel good, basically books. Here it is, 20 and more books that you can enjoy very easily. And I think they're also available on Kindle Unlimited, even though I have not read that because I don't have Kindle Unlimited, but I think they're available there. So fair is fair. I'm not saying that there are great books. They could be worse. They are written fairly well, and all the characters are developed fairly well. So there's that. But so yeah, you know, I want to highlight as well again that this is what you're looking for. So if you're looking for this kind of story, then this is the kind of book for you. But if you expect too much from these books, then you're going to be disappointed. So, but all in all, it was not a waste of time. So yeah, that is why I recommend. And there's something very comforting about reading faded romance, because it kind of is makes you feel good that there's a certainty that somewhere on this planet there's someone that was made just for you, and they have it in this book. Of course it's different because it's not the same for us humans, but so yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that you have watched up until this point. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, let me know. If you end up reading this series, please let me know. I'd love to know what you think of it. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.